Good morning, this is Candace Sarney. I am here with Joel Bruce Wallach, the inventor of Powerforms. We're here to talk today about using the air Divine Essence disc and how to use that to relieve anger. Joel, why don't you take that away?
Okay, Candace. So with anger, we have an energy that's very tight and very fiery and very concentrated. But the energy of air is the energy of lightness and expansiveness, and in many ways quite the opposite. Not that fiery energy is bad, but when it's too concentrated, as if it's about to explode, that is anger, and that we don't want. So when you access the energy of air, you're accessing the energy that expands, and so you need merely access it by touching it, holding it, or placing it on any part of the body that seems to be angry. So if you're feeling like a hothead, you're feeling pent up there, you could place it here just to bring an airy, lighter, expansive energy to that part of the body. Or, if you want, you could use the other capacity of the plate to sweep. You could use the airy energy to sweep excess pent-up energy out of the head, or the throat, or the heart, or the abdomen, wherever it happens to be. And so there's always the invitation, notice where things are stuck. See, this doubles the effectiveness of anything that you do. Notice where it's stuck, so that instead of just thinking, well, I'm kind of angry all over, not exactly. You're generally angry in your head, your chest, your belly. Something feels pent up. Now, another way to look at pent up energy, wherever it is in the body, you can sweep it out of your extremities. Now, extremities are the hands and the feet and the head. So you can sweep excess energy out. And when you're doing it with a plate that has such a lighter, subtle energy, it brings that quality of lightness to the body, which helps to heal the trapped anger energy. Now, we always assume that energy that's trapped can be released, and we assume that you will feel more balanced when you release the trapped energy. So that's an assumption we're making. And notice that we're not talking about what you're angry about. We're not even going into the details of that. We're just figuring anger is trapped energy, and we're going to release the trapped energy. So we're keeping it very basic.
So as you bring that subject up, it brings to mind, so we're really just kind of almost like opening up a window in a spring cleaning. We're just bringing more neutral air, more space into that place where you have all this trapped energy, and you're moving it out. So as you're moving out the energy, how does that affect, how is that affecting the actual anger? I mean, it's clean, it's opening it up and letting it out so it doesn't explode inside of you. But how does that deal, does that have an effect on the actual feelings you have about anger?
Oh, brilliant question, because should have probably explained this earlier. When we think of anger, it's not merely a thought. In order for it to be anger and not merely something that you have some criticism about, the body has to be tight. There has to be tenseness, lack of even breathing. And so on an energy level, when the mind says, I don't like what that person said or did, and then the body says, oh, well, that makes me feel that I'm in danger or that my world would be affected by that. And that makes you go into fight or flight. And at that point, your hormones are generating fight or flight energy, and that makes you feel really tight. And so the answer to your question is, by accessing the level of energy, the energy level of the body, and shifting something so that it's lighter, that feeds back to the whole fight or flight system, and it says, oh, well, everything is feeling smoother, so I guess I'm safe. And then that feeds back to the brain, and then the brain is saying, well, since I'm safe, I can look at this situation in a more balanced way.
I see. I see. Very interesting.
So our technique with a lot of this subtle energy work is to be more conscious of the energy component. We shift the energy component so the body starts to calm down and the thoughts start to become more regulated and less out of control.
Very
So
cool.
it's a way to access this whole system without having to change your thoughts. Your thoughts will start to change when you get more balance, because you look at the same situation, instead of saying, oh, I can't stand it, you look at it and say, okay, well, that person is saying something I don't agree with, and okay. So it's just because we've accessed the system and we've changed the reactions, the intensity of the reactions, the brain, which is part of this whole body-mind energy thing, becomes more sensible. And then we can look at, well, what is appropriate here? Because generally when you're really angry, your first thought is not a useful thought. It's usually intense or unbalanced or even violent.
Whatever. I mean, with anger, I've seen it, I've experienced it, where it's almost like if you get to that a certain level of anger that your mind isn't working clearly. I've seen people who somebody does something and they get angry and they're not thinking clearly. So what I hear you saying is using something as simple as a disc just to even, put near a person or put around a person can release the amount of energy that's attached to that so that they can begin to think a little bit more clearly about things.
Yes, and there are all kinds of therapies that help you deal with, your cognitive reaction to something, and those are all important. This is not a replacement for those. This is a way to more quickly get to the point where your rational mind can kick in.
Very cool. Well, Joel, thank you so much for sharing about another way to use the Air Divine Essence Disc. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Well, thank you, Candace, and be well.
Bye-bye.